Hello everyone. In my last video, I talked about the lawyer, the get upstairs lawyer, and how that ended. And what I didn't tell you is that after leaving, I got in my car completely full with all my bits and bobs, and I drove down the A3 to my flat in Weybridge. And I had the album by Mika on my stereo, and I sang so joyously at the top of my voice. It was such a relief to not have to be there. And every time I listen to that album now, that CD in fact, it takes me right back to the A3. What I didn't say was that from that period on, I was on my own quite happily for around 2 years. And what happened during those 2 years was I reinforced all the learning that I had got over the past few years. And at the end, not only was I happy to be on my own, but I had a really strong sense of self. It was so strong that nobody, bar nobody, could convince me that I wasn't a really lovely person. Nobody could tell me that I was just too fat, too thin, too whatever. If somebody had put their ex-girlfriend's photograph as their screensaver, I would have laughed uproariously because I could see it was manipulation. Once you get to that stage, once you put all the things that you've learned into your very soul, you are changed. You are changed for the better for you forever. You are no longer at the behest of somebody else. You are no longer capable of being outrageously manipulated, triggered by every little happenstance that comes along. It makes you strong. Now, if you want to know what else I learned in those 2 years and how I changed, listen on. The first thing I learned is that I should never, ever distrust my own intuition, and neither should you. If someone says to you something that just has something wrong about it, it doesn't quite sound genuine, it doesn't quite sound right, it doesn't gel with what they've said before, then believe it. Don't sit there and think, well, maybe they're saying that because of something else happening. I will give them the benefit of the doubt. Don't. All the bits of information that have come to your brain subliminally are your intuition. You absorb all these little bits of information without even trying to. It just pops into your brain and you think, oh, that doesn't sound right. Well, if it doesn't sound right, it isn't. Don't be put off by somebody else arguing the toss. I did that with the first lawyer. I had sirens going off with my intuition, all those bits of information that just didn't seem right, that didn't seem kosher. And in the end, I was right about all of them. In hindsight, I wish I'd have done something about it, but hindsight is a wonderful thing. You only get it once it's gone. But what you don't have to do is do it again. Learn that little voice in the back of your head saying, no, he's lying, he's doing this, he's doing that, or they're doing this, they're doing that. Whoever it is, doesn't have to be a partner. It could be just somebody you're involved with via a friendship group or anything. Don't ignore your intuition. You will live to regret it, as I did. And maybe you don't have the capacity to try and find something positive in every negative thing that's ever happened to you. But believe me, it really does help transforming something extremely negative and finding a little glimmer of gold out of it will help you. If nothing else, it stops you from becoming bitter. The other thing I stopped doing is trying to please everyone all of the time. As a lifelong people pleaser, that was, something I really needed to do. I do love giving. I do. I like to be able to give with both arms open. That actually brings me joy. I like to be able to do that without the feeling that I am being used. If I ever get the impression that I'm being taken advantage of, then the giving stops. It's no longer something nice for me. And at the end of the day, that's why people do give, because they get something from it. You don't give something without feeling good. And if you give something and then you don't feel good afterwards, then you shouldn't be giving at all. So I stopped giving without measure if I didn't get something in return. And that something in return was an internal feeling of happiness. If that started to wane, then I would stop, because I knew that I was being taken advantage of, and that does leave a sour taste in your mouth. It doesn't take too much to change yourself. It's not this massive change that you have to become a completely different personality. You just need to move the dial a notch, just a tiny notch, to bring about change in your life. It can be by doing, if you're in a relationship, by doing what I did with get upstairs lawyer, you are too much jam, etc. I just walked out of the room quietly. I didn't make it an argument. I just let him see, eventually when the penny dropped, that I wasn't in the room to witness his banging and crashing around. Now, that rang a bell for one of you lovely followers of mine. And she reported that she started doing that behaviour a long time ago. And it actually led to her husband also changing and seeing where they were going wrong, which is a win-win. Now, if the other person doesn't stop their behaviour, then I would question why you're with them. Perhaps your relationship has run its course. If he disrespects you enough, or she disrespects you enough, then if you stay, then you are being a party to what is going on. And if it's causing you grief, that's not good. So I made a small adjustment, and like a little muscle that had never been used, it became stronger. I stopped doing things because other people wanted me to. I actually learned how to scuba dive because Veruca Man wanted to learn to scuba dive, so I did. But I found it terrifying. It was terrifying, and I didn't enjoy it at all. And when I stopped going out with him, I no longer had to scuba dive. I also no longer had to sail because I learned how to do that because of him. I didn't enjoy it. Nowadays, I don't do anything that I don't want to. I don't have any qualms about my darling boy going off sailing or going off skiing or whatever he wants to do. I will drop him off at the airport. I will pick him up. I will constantly phone him to keep in contact if that's what he wants. The one thing I won't do is do it myself. I have changed. I don't want to do things that I really don't want to do, that I have no enjoyment from. How can I give something begrudgingly like that and not feel bad about it? So I don't do that anymore either. The other thing that I won't accept from anyone is passive aggression. It is just the pits. And if they don't think that I know that they're doing it, then they're wrong. I haven't got to the age I am now and the life that I've had without witnessing passive aggression. And I find it irritating. I do wish they would just come out and say what they want to say, like I do these days. I didn't used to do it in the past. I would just be quiet. But these days, I will actually come straight out and say, you have done this, it has upset me, I am disappointed in you. But I can't deal with all the tutting and the harumphing and when you go to say something to somebody, they go like this and brush you off. Now that really does get my goat. It does make me angry, and I will call them out on it straight away. It's foolish behaviour. It's childlike. And this action just makes me feel that they don't think I have a right to say anything. And actually, I do now. And I will, and I do. So I don't think that anybody should put up with that behaviour. I think once you start not putting up with it, once you start calling somebody out, no matter who it is, once you start calling somebody out on their behaviours, they very soon, very quickly begin to realise that they can no longer manipulate you. They can no longer make you feel something unless they have your permission. It is quite an extraordinary thing that nobody can make anybody feel anything unless that person gives them permission. Once you take that on board, you can almost make yourself bulletproof. Think on that one. Lastly, if you're in a predicament that you don't know how to get out of, make this next year the year that you take control of what you can. You are not without power, even when it's only a little. You have a little power and it will grow. It's like a muscle. You start using it and it will grow. It will grow and grow. There are so many people in poor relationships that are desperate. They feel they have no power and they don't know what to do. Please make this next year the year when you take control of your own life and what you want to do with it. And if you have been, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.